Okay, people, when Brother Yusuf come in, let him know that we ready. Is he here?
I am here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got the stream going.
Okay. Are people here now? Do we start or
Whenever you ready, they was waiting on you. I was trying to make me quick.
I'll go
I
ahead
get
and turn
it
the
set up.
camera on.
Whew, what I was trying. Yeah, I had you set up already anyway.
You sound like you're out of breath.
Yeah, I was trying to get my stuff done and then we had back to back to back classes.
Oh
Whew,
wow.
you know you popular here, so I'm trying to. Well, you said
Yeah.
7:15, so I'm on time. We got 3 minutes. Yeah.
If you want me to start, I can go ahead and start or we can wait.
It's up to you. Yeah, we're fine. I'm just happy we got it together. I'm working the system right. Let me put my thing down. There. Wait a minute. Hold on. Take my thing. There you go. There.
Assalamu alaikum. Everybody's getting my camera centered right quick. For those of you, hopefully, maybe there's some of you today here for the first time, newsflash, we are not Sneeko. We're not the Warner. We're not Ali Dawa. We're not the rest of the circus. You're going to hear some things tonight that is real, uncensored. As Sister Layla was mentioning before we went live, they can't put me on TikTok, and hopefully tonight you'll find out why that is. Even though getting banned by TikTok would be an honor, needless to say, I would take tremendous pride in that. I'd like to have a plaque, even made on it. So we are going to continue. Welcome everybody, as always. Continue, and I hope this is the last time, honestly, I have to talk about Zohran Mamdani or Abdul El Sayed. Just thinking of their images in my mind makes me nauseous. But because of the fact they're so popular and they command, we're going to look at that again tonight. Just never forget, 95% of the Muslim vote love these guys. And we're going to look at the Muslims still love these guys. And we're going to expose people who are connected to them. Certain people last week, and that's just kind of this gentleman summed up what a lot of people say when you attack people like this, is that you're making it up. You're just painting a negative picture. You're a Republican agent or laughable things like that. And as always, we give the quotes, we give the facts. And if you don't like reality, it's not my problem. But I deal only in reality, and I deal only with what we can prove. If I'm speculating, I will mention I'm speculating or inferring or something of the sort. So we're going to start off with good friend Zohran Mamdani, who's quite a few things about him in the headlines this week. One of his aides, and this goes to the gentleman, if he's watching, who made a comment last week. Oh no, you're making it all up. I've never heard anything of the sort coming from Mamdani or his people. Well, Mamdani is a politician. He's very clever, as most of them are. He knows when to say things and how to word them. We went through that last week with El Sayed. We showed how they use code a lot of times to communicate, the agenda and things like that. Well, Zohran Mamdani appoints people oftentimes who say the things out loud that he's never going to say, that he's only going to agree with, stay silent on, or even kind of nudge, wink, wink. One of these individuals one goes by the name of C.O. Weaver. Now, when I broke down El Sayed's demographics last week, I talked about the huge Muslim support that he got, but he didn't win one working class county. He won counties filled with individuals like this, typically white, uppity, liberal, college educated types in private universities, daddy's trust fund money. These are the type of people that buy this very fierce socialist agenda, which is kind of ironic. I guess when everything's given to you all your life, you think this is how reality works. And these policies sound good to the ear. A lot of them are obviously agents, saboteurs. A lot of them are funded by the Zionists. A lot of them have Masonic connections. This woman appears just to be a typical run-of-the-mill, wealthy, elitist college whack job. Well, she famously said, and it's got the rounds this week, and I never actually heard of this, where I'd have mentioned it before. So the news just keeps coming. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She stated, and I quote, "We want," the goal, to impoverish the white middle class. So for the gentleman last week, they never said anything like that. He never had racial-based policies. Well, right here, this is his tenant aide. This is one of the person he put in charge of dealing with rentals in New York City. We're going to get into a lot more from this woman. She didn't say she wanted to remove a middle class, which is bad in itself anyway. She said she wanted to impoverish. Take people who worked hard, who earned what they got more times than not, and bring them down to a poverty level. Now, any normal American, this is a declaration of war, 100%. They are declaring war on what built this country. What made America so innovative? In a lot of areas, America's great. A lot of areas, obviously, you heard me for years, America's not so great, particularly with foreign policy. But domestically, until the last 20 to 30 years, America offered something that most nations did not offer, and that was upward mobility. That you could come as the son of a plumber, the son of a guy who put or killed bugs for a living or worked with his hands in a construction site. And the son could go to college, could be a lawyer, could be an innovator, an entrepreneur. It was that middle class that sprang that upward mobility, that made the American dream, that brought so many people from around the world. And they want all the middle class. They just know that their racist base is fine when they put the word white in front of it. It's the oppressor. You got to get the oppressor. We got to get that white middle class. And she just will get rid of it, impoverish it, bring it down. I mean, could you imagine if any politician, any of their aides, their brother, family member, we're going to look at family members coming up here in a little bit. Mr. Sayed and his unfortunate sister, who doesn't know how to close her mouth, but anybody connected to a political figure to say this about any of the group, I mean, you would see massive anger. You would have white Americans turning on that individual. No one would openly accept such policies, but yet the Muslims in New York have no problem, apparently, with this language. Now, this ugly, wretched creature, and if you saw her, you know exactly who I was talking about. I mean, the script writes itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a mark on wickedness. I'm a true believer in that. You see people who exude ugliness, and you look at the way they look. Most times, more times than not, these are some of the most horrendous looking people you ever laid your eyes on. Well, this beast was a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. And her claim to fame was she took advantage of the COVID scam. If you're not familiar with me, please watch some of the past where I broke that down, to propose rent strikes. Now, let's put this in a little bit of context here. These are the same people that pushed for the policies to lock you down and stop your ability to go to work and provide a living for your family. These whack jobs, or I don't believe they really, a lot of them were stupid, but most of them knew it was a scam. They were toting the line. We're out there saying that all businesses should not even go to work. I mean, there were some of these clowns during that time. Some of you probably remember it well. Even Essential, they said you shouldn't go to work. I'd like to have seen how the world would have turned out if your power company, your plumbing, your HVAC technicians, and all those people didn't go to work. Let's see how quickly the world shuts down, or your police didn't go to work. But they were out there, shilling this. You should stay home. You shouldn't work. And then, of course, what was happening? People didn't have any money, so they couldn't pay their rent. And the landlords took a huge hit. We're going to get to that in a second, what happened to us because of that. Because the landlords, they bought these properties. They have to maintain these properties. People think being a landlord is just some easy peasy, existence. But no, I mean, you could be making profit off the rent for 3 years and then the pipes fail, and you got to be responsible to fix that. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. You're losing half a year's profits in some case, or the roof has to be repaired. So the landlords are not collecting rent. This woman was calling for a rent strike. And this, again, was something more sinister, to be intentional here, of why she was doing that. But you're not allowing people to work, and then you're offering as a solution not getting them to work. But no, go on a rent strike. And this is all going to make sense when I mention some of her quotes here in a minute. So this, again, is a step into the direction of what I've talked about, abolishing property rights. They want you on universal and basic income. They don't want you being able to work. They want you to sit at home, collect a check, and be tied to digital banking system where they can control everything you spend, what you eat, how you eat, and so on. She would go on to say that government, and I quote, this is exact words, not mine, not paraphrase, exact words, a sacred right to seize property. And then this is the best part. And home ownership, and I quote, was racist and a tool of white supremacy. I mean, you've got to be a special kind of mentally deficient to hear language like this. And number one, not laugh. Number two, not think, what is going on here? How are they making a correlation between supposed white supremacy, racism, and property ownership? Because property ownership is a good thing. Property ownership allows you to have generational wealth. Property ownership allows your children to have that start I talked about, better than you did. It allows the next generation to get better. Property ownership is a beautiful thing, but these demons have to frame it in such a way using inflammatory language to convince you that this is something that's evil. It's racist. And why has rent become unbearable? I've talked about rent because during COVID, while we were stuck in the house, only essential workers allowed to work, they were opening the borders. Private equity was buying up homes, and landlords were losing tons of money. So the landlords had to get together and collectively raise the rents because they lost so much money, especially in places like New York and California, Oregon, with whack job leftist governments were locking people up for insane. I mean, Oregon didn't remove the mask mandates until it was 2024. I mean, California, Oregon were being the worst. New York was trying to run a race there to compete with that. And now she comes out and says the government has a right, a sacred right, as she called it, to seize property. Interesting. They tell you exactly what the plan is. They're just using white people to try to get all these gullible idiots out there to think this sounds something good. Oh, they're going to do it to them. It's not us, you know. They're only going to impoverish the white middle class. Well, if the white middle class falls, job creation goes down, opportunities go, everybody's going to fall down. With it, it's still a majority Caucasian country. And if you lose a solid middle class block, is impoverished, of course, that's going to lead everybody right to the bottom. It's going to have a domino effect. They know this, of course. But the dumb sheep, the 95% of the Muslims that voted for this man, don't seem to get it. They don't think past a first grade level, to be honest. And I am insulting their intelligence because anyone that hears statements like this and doesn't scratch their head, doesn't laugh, doesn't ponder, doesn't dive deep, really is a very, very low IQ individual. Now, Mamdani would openly admit his playbook and highlight the things that I've spoke about. Nothing, again, if you heard the statements from Mamdani that I'm about to talk about, nothing would be surprising. I mean, I highlighted him here. I didn't know this interview existed, but he had done an interview where he was using his real accent, which is heavily a foreign accent. Apparently, they've hired a lot of vocalists and speech coaches to try to get him to sound more normal. Because when you hear him speaking here, he clearly speaks with a foreign accent. So in order to be more palatable to people who grew up in this country, he's, I said, undoubtedly gone to speech coaches to clean up his voice. Politicians do this all the time. Hillary Clinton famously got rid of her Southern accent to be more national, trying to talk a more, you say, nation neutral, type of accent. So Mamdani has an image right there of one of the individuals that Sia that we were talking about. So in an interview, Mamdani would say that whites basically in this country are attracted to ideology, while immigrants and non-whites are attracted to ethnic identity. He would go on to say that he would use the ideological connection to take power. So what he's basically saying is that we know all these immigrants, like I said last week, they vote purely on tribalism. As I told you last week, and here he is, leaked interview right after I gave the presentation, saying in his own words, it's all over YouTube, it's all over Twitter, can be found by many, by any who honestly want to see it. He's saying exactly what I said. You're voting tribalism. They know you. That's why they brought you in here. That's why the government is so open to allowing people who have no business, no job skills, the whole 9 yards to come into this country, because you're giving them exactly what they want. You're going to vote ethnic identity only. And Mamdani was right here in this interview saying it. And he said, because white people split on ideological lines, we are going to manipulate the liberal whites to pretty much voting for their own destruction. So he again showed it. And by this woman I talked about, this is that sad case of that indoctrinated leftist college girl who's full of guilt, full of self-hate. She's literally serving people openly, more fiercely than they are, to serve their destruction. Does this white woman think for a second, when these racist men like this and the Zionists behind him take power, they are going to discriminate against her? Go look at what the Bolsheviks did in the Soviet Union when they took power. They didn't discriminate. They eliminated. And that's exactly what's going to happen to these gullible sheep who continue to go out there and support policies that are signing their death warrant, their own destruction. Mamdani is in an interview basically saying we are going to use the ideology of white leftists as an ally for us to take power. And we're going to use the ethnic bloc that we know no matter what we say or what we do, they are going to vote for me because of my name, the color of my skin, the country of my origin. He knows he can go out there and curse the Sunnah. He knows he could go out, not curse the Sunnah directly, he'll curse it indirectly through his actions. He knows he can go out there and make a mockery of the Prophet ﷺ in deeds and action. And the Muslims will still vote for him because of the fact that he has brown skin and he has a funny name, as they'll say, oh, he's like us. He's an immigrant just like us. No problem. Or he'll say, Salam alaikum. Palestine, yeah. And it doesn't matter at that point. You're still going to vote for him. Now, he did something else, too, during his campaign trail that he kind of cooled down, and something funny happened with that also this week. He famously called for basically the abolition or the destruction, elimination, defunding, whatever you want to call it, of the police. He famously would tweet, we don't need to do an investigation. Why? I mean, don't let facts get in the way of your feelings. We don't need to do an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. Now, the track record of the NYPD in modern times is pretty solid. The NYPD is a multiracial, Latinos, Italians, English-born Caucasian Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans. The NYPD is not the same NYPD it was back in the 1920s, but these guys, they know that the average person is not very literate. The average person falls for emotional rhetoric. They, again, can come out there and say nonsense like this, and people are just going to go, yeah, get them. And if we're any kind of country at this point worth any amount of respect, this guy would be handcuffed and flown on the first plane, one-way ticket back to where he came from. These comments are hateful. They're vile, divisive, disgusting. You know, he said, you know, again, I mean, there's no need for an investigation. The NYPD is vile, anti-queer. I mean, that was even a funny one. I mean, because obviously, as I've talked about in previous chapters here, they try to piggyback a lot of these immigrant groups off the struggles of the past of African Americans, and they try to put themselves in that face when they have no right to do that. They're very good at doing it, and we let them get away. Not we, but people let them get away with it. But anti-queer? I mean, there's not even been, even in the bad days of the NYPD, have we ever found any scandal involving the NYPD doing anything against people because they were gay? I mean, was the NYPD grabbing a guy randomly on the street? Hey, sir, are you gay? Oh, yeah, and then club him on the head with a baton. I mean, this is fantasy. This is cartoon nonsense. It's not reality. And again, to just offend and attack all the good cops in, New York City. And without the police, where are we? We're in the lawlessness. And guess what? And this is where it really becomes clear again, if it isn't already. His trashy horror movie looking wife, who's Syrian, who that was one of the reasons a lot of Arabs voted for. She's Syrian. Why not? This creature wanted to go to Syria and Lebanon. And guess what? She wanted the NYPD to do what? To give her security. This vile, no need for an investigation, this vile, racist, disgusting, anti-queer, anti-abortion, they kill black babies in their beds, how evil the NYPD is. But yet, when she wanted to go to Syria and Lebanon, she wanted them to go with her to take care of her, and they declined. Of course they did, for as many reasons why, but you can't make this stuff up. These people are armed to the teeth. They have security everywhere they go, but not for you, not for I. They want you to get social workers. That's one of the platforms of the left. I'm not making this up. No one believes me. Go check it out. They want to call a social worker. There's a crazy guy wielding an axe, and he wants to chop someone's head off. Dial the social worker. Hey, we got a guy might be mentally disturbed here. Come and talk to him. And you go in, hey, sir, how are you? Are you having a bad day? Do you need a hug? This is literally what they're proposing because they know it doesn't work. They're not stupid. They want lawlessness, but not for themselves. They want themselves behind a wall with machine guns. They want to have their armed guards being armed, loaded, chambered bullets, but not you and I. You and I know. We shouldn't have that. They want us living in a dystopian, crime-infested hellhole where there's no law and order. And then what would we do in such a situation? You would go out and beg the government on your hands and knees, please, government, take away my rights, provide basically protection for me. And of course, the government will be more than happy, to oblige. The government will be more than happy to put more surveillance, more monitoring, taking away more of your rights, raising your taxes, more money out of your wallet, so to speak. But not for them. This vile, if I really believed, and of course he doesn't believe this, it's all agenda driven again. He was willing to entrust them, to his wife. This vile, racist, horrible organization known as the NYPD who should cease to exist, as he said. But take care of my wife for me, why don't you? You can't make it up. And again, every poll, they just released another one about favorability. Every demographic group in the state of New York was unhappy with this guy's performance. Some -21, Catholics particularly, Protestant groups, regular white Americans, working class, all negatives. One group, and the media, they tried to not show that it was the Muslims, but it was the Muslims plus 45. They called them other religious group. What other religious group are they referring to? Hindus and Muslims, I'm assuming. Plus 45 in his favor. This is disgusting. We continue to have people in our midst, imams in our midst, who are peddling these people to you, to your children. All this is going to end very, very badly. I'm on here hoping non-Muslims watch so they understand that not all Muslims think this way. Not all Muslims are their enemy. But when they read stuff like this, they say, yeah, Muslims are my enemy. Look what they're supporting. And again, this is all going according to plan. This is what they want. They want us hated, and they're using these guys, along with many other reasons that we have highlighted here, to drive that up. And as we're going to segue now into our other friend, Mr. Abdul El Sayed and his buddy, Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker, as I covered last week, is a vile podcast host who calls himself the non-practicing Muslim. This guy is a Marxist, openly praised Yao from China. He's praised Stalin. He's praised Castro. All you have to do is go look at any of these societies and say, is this something I really want to live in? But Hassan Piker came out and talked about the tenant lady, Mr. Mamdani's prized aide, who he valued her great knowledge and experience. He said, I love her so much, when asked about her comments about impoverishing the middle class. So you have that connection between Abdul El Sayed and, Mamdani again, through this Hassan Piker, who Sayed is bringing out to speak at his rallies. You're inviting a guy to speak at the rally, you should know their politics. And he does, of course. And he has no issue with Hassan Piker's comments. And he said he loves this woman so much. The woman who said she wants to impoverish the white middle class. For those people out there, oh, they didn't say this. Well, here you go. This clown, as we talked about all the wealthy that supported El Sayed last week, this clown, Hassan Piker, lives in a $3.1 million home and has dedicated his life to promoting communism. What a strange place for a communist to live. Aren't communists supposed to live in nature, as we used to see with the hippies in the 1960s and 70s, in communal life where they live off the earth and they wear the same clothes every day? No, not this communist. This communist lives in a $3.1 million home. When asked, he said basically it's fine as long as he doesn't have too much wealth. You know, the problem is people have too much wealth. But he's okay with the $3.1 million. And he wouldn't basically stop. I mean, this guy came up on his show. He was thinking of different things to insult white people with. He came up with some names to insult white people. I'm not going to repeat here. Graphic sexual things, other disturbing things. But he was upset because he said that white people just don't care. They don't get mad when he makes up these racial insults about them. What he doesn't understand, of course, is that we could care less what a lowlife like this says. My problem is the fact that he's working with a guy who's running for public office in this country. This guy just had his microphone. Let him run his mouth. He is a lowlife. We should send him back to Turkey where he belongs. That's a different conversation for a different time. But again, he was upset that these new racial words that I alluded to last week, they just weren't making white people angry because he just doesn't understand who we are. We could care less. It doesn't affect us until you have power to bring such ideology and force legislation that would openly harm us. And again, this is El Sayed's power. You are the company you keep. I mean, I would never go to a public place and speak and bring a speaker to introduce me who said such things like this about other groups because that's not my value. Of course, El Sayed, this is his value. He has no issue. We're going to see his sister here in a minute. It's going to be the majority of our ending here. In fact, how wretched of a creature she is. Now, El Sayed, just like his buddy, he owns multiple mansions. This guy has places in Michigan. He has a place in Dubai. This is not cheap for anybody who's ever been to Dubai. And he has places in India, ironically, because he's all about bringing in those H-1Bs that he talked about to take Americans' jobs. He has no problem. Probably he's recruiting, making a pretty penny, flooding the American job market, suppressing the wages, bringing another foreign culture into this country who doesn't respect the laws of the land, who's going to, again, displace Americans for cheaper, salary. So, again, what an interesting life for a communist to live, a socialist who wants everybody to be equal. 3 houses, 1 in Dubai. He also washed 100 YouTube clips of him this week saying stupid things, obviously, that he believes, that he knows now in the election cycle, people are waking up to who he is, and they're going to use him against him. So many of his past statements, he's trying to go through the internet and bury it. But fortunately, the internet's eternal. And a lot of people have already captured that stuff before he was able to take them down. He insulted American football because he's trying to play to his left base. He said it's toxic masculinity, which we've heard that before. Being a man is toxic in the eyes of the left because, again, a weak man allows himself to be conquered. They want men weak so they can put policies like Zohran Mamdani's female friend talked about earlier. Weak men won't fight that. Strong men will. So you have to attack any institution you see as having any remnant, small or big, of masculinity. He called American football slavery. Making $60 million a year, which top 5 NFL players currently make is slavery. An average salary of $450,000 for the bare minimum is slavery. I think most NFL players, obviously all NFL players, would laugh at such a ridiculous statement. But these are the silly types of things that he said. They're generally more harmless than the things that his sister said. Now, he wished he could have gone out and deleted her tweets, but nope, we've got him. And we're going to cover it, and we're going to bury this wretched animal, right here today, because he's basically never renounced his sister. He's never renounced her views. They grew up in the same household. It's safe to say that he shares the views of his sister. Why wouldn't he? He's been with her in public. He's never said, wait, that's her opinion, not mine. He's never done that. So let's take a look, and then we're going to really bury this individual for how ignorant, vile, and disgusting she truly is. So here's a quote, and they have no problem putting this online. Excuse me if I don't celebrate, he's talking about Thanksgiving here. The transfer of land, it's not Thanksgiving, the 4th of July. The transfer of land from one colonizer to another. This was one of her first major tweets. Lord, please have empathy and compassion for the people who are now discovering that America is a pretty evil place that hates indigenous, black, brown, queer, and poor people. So America hates it all. This is a vile, why is she here? If it's this bad, would I immigrate somewhere? Like when I lived in Bahrain, I lived in Saudi, visited Oman. Did any of those places I feel hated me? No. And that's why I lived there. If I felt so strongly that this system hated me so much, it was this evil, why would I be immigrating there? This woman makes $245,000 a year, by the way. Of course, not poor by any means. But no issue saying such hateful, we're going to expose all this junk of how ignorant her statements are. And she's also, guess what? Of course she is. She loves some good old-fashioned abortions. Here's a tweet from her from 2022. My abortion was one of the easiest and best decisions that I ever made. I cannot imagine a world where I would be forced to be pregnant 8 more months and then give birth when I didn't want to. A world where my body was, and I quote, hijacked by a bunch of men. That's what we face now. This was her exact words, can be found online. Let's pick that apart, shall we? Hijacked by men? Hijacked? Men, plural? Was she raped? No. Was she in a brothel? Perhaps. I mean, men, plural. So there's all these different men had turns with her. They hijacked her body. She had no choice but to kill the baby because she was just conquered. Did the men come to her house with a gun and tie her down? Because that's what that language implies. But obviously that's not the case at all. So why such harsh, language? The way she's describing the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and childbirth and a man and a woman coming together to hijack her body. They took control of it. I think she let these men, plural, do in fact just that. We're going to look in a second. That's exactly what happened. So for starters, I just want to ask a question. If you've seen this woman, I don't know which man would. I mean, you've got to be a low life of a man to, if you're going to into zina and you're going to commit zina, whether you're a Muslim or you don't believe in zina, if you're an atheist or a Christian, and you chose this hideous looking thing. I mean, this is what these men out here nowadays can find as acceptable. I mean, that's the first thing we got to get out of there is that aspect of it. I mean, I wouldn't marry this woman in a halal way unless you paid me a dowry and the billions, of dollars. I mean, but this woman obviously was giving it away for free and was obviously committing zina. But for all jokes aside, I mean, wow. And she admitted in April of 2022 that the abortion was for convenience. Basically, she was out there messing around with a lot of different guys. Well, she used men, plural there. And she got pregnant by one of them and said that he wasn't ready to be a father and she wasn't ready to be a mother. And she decides, well, we'll kill it. Why not? This is a Muslim woman, by the way. This is a Muslim woman. This is the sister of the Muslim Superman that we've been hearing about for 2 weeks. And again, you see this pure example of Muslim 2.0 behavior. This woman is openly admitting that zina is not even a big deal, pretty much. I mean, using men in plural and then describing sexual acts between a man and a woman as hijacking, her body, and all of this. I mean, just vile, nasty, nasty stuff. And Muslims vote, no problem. She'd be on stage with him. If this guy gets elected, God forbid, and we have to listen to this guy for 4 years, I mean, she'll be out there at the acceptance things with him. People will be clapping. You have women out there with hijabs, crying probably like they did with Obama, talking about what a great day this is for the country that you elected these type of people. These are great people, great role models for your young girls. Well, she would go on because, of course, when you kill the babies, you got to take, and already you've talked bad about white people. Why not even more? Let's just talk about white people even more. She said white supremacy was historically the bloodiest ideology that ever plagued the earth. She said in another tweet, someday I'm going to make a Twitter account called Profound White Guy, and it will be the wisdoms of basic white boys who think they're wise. She would accuse whites of being against welfare and entitlements because they wanted to stop people of color from surviving. Unbelievable, like stuff here. I mean, I'm going to get to this, and really we're going to destroy her, like I said earlier, more than we already have. But, let's go back again. Bloodiest ideology in history. I mean, number-wise, that simply doesn't match up. This woman, as we're going to show here in a second, obviously is illiterate when it comes to more things than one, history being, one of them. She is a COVID mask Nazi, if you will. She was even wearing the mask as recent as 2025. She tweeted about being on a plane with 2 white women and had to make sure to mention their color. And they weren't wearing masks. How horrible, these wretched women were for not wearing a mask. And they were murderers, putting her life. But she had to mention their race. During the peak of COVID, I was at one time one of only 2 people. This is when it first began. And everybody was falling for the Kool-Aid or drinking the Kool-Aid, falling for the lies. I was one of only 2 people in the grocery store out of about 50 that was not wearing a mask. The other one was an African-American gentleman. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning his race here in the story is because just showing how this woman, even in a situation like this, she had to project her hate and her disdain basically for white people, that she had to signal these women out for not wearing a mask based on their race, when there were all of us all over who knew this was a lie. And like I said, this woman was doing a speech at college as recent as 2025 and still wearing the mask. I mean, these people are sick. They need to be ridiculed and laughed at if they weren't so close to actually being able to make change. This woman's a professor. And she famously stated that she was using the institution that she was teaching in as a springboard to what? To power. That, going back to Zohran Mamdani's quote, they would use these stupid white college leftists against them. They would use them to gain power, and then they would be able to further, their agenda. So since she doesn't know anything about history, because for starters, I'm not going to allow basically an Egyptian to come into my country and call my country racist, call us racist. We're not going to allow that, because we're going to go for some facts. We're going to expose some reality. So basically, this profound white guy is, as she liked to call us, is about to teach this wench a lesson, a history lesson. We're going to take a little bit, 100 so odd years back. We're going to look at some reality, everything verifiable in the archives of history. Basically, again, if we're so bad, why is she here? She could gladly go back and live in one of the slums of Egypt. There's plenty of them there. I mean, she could gladly do that, but she's not. She's here. Again, so she liked to talk about slavery and colonialism. They all do. And we're just going to do that. I've talked about colonialism on here as well, but we got to always paint a total picture when we talk about such things. So can anyone out here in their mind guess when Egypt had its last slave? I want anybody there is this very, very wretched creature. So when did Egypt stop slavery? I want everybody to think about that. When did the last slave end in Egypt? Since this woman is here to lecture us about how vile and racist we are Everything under the sun is racist. You know, when is the last time Egypt had that? Well, I'll give you the answers, and we'll talk about how. In 1877, England, the evil white colonizing nation of England. Now, England has done some atrocities around the world. We're not saying they have not. But let's look at this. England would do what in 1877? They would force Egypt to sign the Anglo-Slave Trade Convention. And wait a minute. That doesn't fit the liberal doctrine, does it? I'm a colonizer, the root of all evil in the world. Without white men, the world would be kumbaya and peace, according to these people. They forced this poor Arab country not to import more slaves. That's what the Anglo-Slave Trade Convention was about. The agreement made the importation of slaves, and where were the slaves coming from to this lovely, lovely woman? Well, guess what? They were coming from Sudan and from the Red Sea. This became illegal under British rule. So wait, were they in Egypt possibly enslaving people based on their race? Interesting. I wonder if this woman is going to give a talk at the university about this very, very important historical fact. Or is she going to try to beat these liberal, wealthy college white girls like the one we highlighted earlier over the head with this nonsense so they go and they serve their agenda to take power here and impoverish us all? So in 1884, it would go on 7 years later, the agreement would stop all. So first you stop Sudan, Red Sea illegal slave trading. These are still bringing fresh slaves in. Egypt was in 1877. The United States ended slavery officially in 1865, but stopped the importation in the early 1800s. England would stop slavery before the United States. In fact, the United States, we had people dying in this country. John Brown's famous raid to make sure that African Americans were free. He was executed by the Southern government of Virginia for trying to get such a slave revolt and liberation going. So while the United States was doing this and England was doing this, her people were still importing slaves from African countries. So 1884, they would stop all. So this spread out all over to all countries. Importing of slaves became illegal. Now, a final agreement was signed in 1895, which gave the remaining slaves in Egypt full rights to complete freedom. Now, this would slowly die out, the practice, but Egypt would finally, due to what? Continuous enforcement by whom? The evil white colonizer. In 1932, they were still using slaves. So let's break it down further for this lady. Let's continue the history lesson, shall we? Who were the Egyptian slaves? We already know the Sudanese were some of their favorite targets. South Sudanese. They were forced to work in the fields in agriculture. Other black slaves from around Africa were forced to work as domestic servants. It doesn't end. Whites, whites were enslaved, but also they were considered what? Higher tier. So enslaved white women from the Caucasus, the land of my ancestors on my father's side, they would serve as concubines and sex slaves for the Egyptian elite. So do I detect a hint of racism here from her people? You know, possibly there. Now, does America have a racist past? Absolutely. But we don't deny it. We healed it. We're moving forward. We're trying the best we can. This woman here completely denies it, lives in denial, comes over here and attacks us as if we are the great Satan when it comes to this, while you have a track record in her land that is much, much worse and much more recent than what went on here. So white slaves, Egypt didn't discriminate, but they said white slaves are better than black slaves. So isn't that racism? Like, ask that woman to answer that question, or anybody who defends her to answer that question. So the white slaves were reserved for the elite. The black slaves ended up in the field. They ended up being domestic servants, cleaning houses and doing things like that. So again, they had slaves being put into positions based on race. White people proudly We ended slavery for most of the entire world, but are constantly demonized by demons like this as being the harbingers of evil. If it wasn't for these evil colonizers, again, Egypt would still have it. Now, I've always on here, we've talked about horrors of colonization. We've talked about, I'm very total here, in my picture, but let's talk about reality. Let's not sugarcoat things. Let's be consistent. We attack one group of people, we're going to attack the other one. All human beings have done horrible things to other human beings during our time on this planet. Generations past, generations in the future. But good deeds need to be focused on too. You can't leave it out. And for an agenda, which is clearly an agenda, she's doing it. And again, it goes back to that thing. If I knew, how bad, this place was, how evil these people supposedly were, if she really agrees with that, why is she here? Why are any of them here? Trying to basically take power and take our resources and put us in an inferior position. They're open. We've got the quotes. We've got what the aides say. All this thing is basically trying to whip up some cultural race war in the United States because that's what the Zionists want. They tried it with white and black for years. It never worked. We never got closer over time. They tried to whip it up again in 2008 when Obama got in, when race relations were at all-time highs. In the 2000s, they sent Obama in here to try to whip it up, with all the inflammatory things he was saying. They sent Donald Trump in later to try to whip it up some more. They sent the George Floyd fiasco to try to whip it up some more. Now we've got these guys coming in here from foreign lands trying to keep it going, trying to whip it up some more. They couldn't get the result they wanted from white and black, so they're now trying to do it in this way. And she also went after the very cliche stolen land narrative, which is so tiring and been debunked time and time again. I'd like to ask her, since she does claim to be a Muslim, first and foremost, what's the Islamic stance on paganism? I'd like her to answer me that, or anyone who defends her, or people like her with these viewpoints. What is the Islamic stance on paganism? First and foremost, that question being out the way. Number two, these Native American tribes here in the West, present-day America, were warring with each other. They were killing each other, selling each other into slavery, committing human sacrifice. They weren't over here living again in a utopian world where they were sharing the land equally. That never happened. You had a European group came over here and took the land from them. This has happened again throughout all human history. Is it right? No. But it's happened. Every group, Arabs included, have engaged in this. The Mongols from China have engaged in this. Japan had their imperial agendas. We saw all throughout South America with Aztecs and Mayans competing for land and territory and engaged in human sacrifice. But these were pagan societies, warlike societies. They were not some innocent victims that the left keeps on doing to try to whip up guilt and say that this is an illegitimate country, the people here are illegitimate. And the reason they're doing this is because if you can do that, you can strip the identity of those people. You can then make displacing those people, like we talked about earlier today, seem palatable. Ultimately, they want none of us to have property rights. They want none of us to own a home. It's racist to own a home, as Zohran Mamdani's aide said. So they have to, again, delegitimize the people here who are American citizens, who have ancestral lineage going back 400, 500, 600 years. And this is another one of the many ways they do that. You can look at any boundaries that are drawn out on the world right now and say those boundaries 2,000 years ago belonged to someone else. They were gained in conquest, war, people died. Is it good? No, but that's the reality of life, unfortunately. Now, she will be one of the reasons for his downfall if they don't rig the thing. He has no chance. This stuff just keeps coming out. You're going to have the Muslims are going to continue to vote for him. Obviously, as we talked about, they still love Mamdani. They've almost had a year of that. They still sing his praises. But he is actually the first Democrat in this century, so we're talking about 26 years now, that's actually behind 4 points in a CNN poll in the state of Michigan. That's big because CNN is a leftist platform pretty much. I mean, everything on CNN. You could have looked when Donald Trump beat Hillary. CNN would have polls in states that Trump won easily, having Hillary winning. So for him to be down in a CNN poll shows he's down big. You know, the majority of people are rejecting this. That is the good news. Obviously, the racial politics, the racialism, the filthiness of these people is being rejected by a good portion of Americans. But what I'm fearing is that the more borders stay open, the more and more of these people come in. Like Mamdani said, the tribalism, if it's not addressed in the Islamic community, eventually you're going to have people like this taking over power. And when they do, it will be a nightmare, you know, for everyone, starting with my group, obviously, as they've said very openly. But it's going to spread to all the different members, you know, of society. And it's going to be because, again, Hassan Piker, who was his heroes? He named them. Mao Zedong, you know, Joseph Stalin, Fidel Castro. People can look at what those societies look like and ask themselves, do I want to live there? North Korea, do I want to go there? I mean, all these immigrants are coming here to the United States, but then hating the United States and wanting to change the United States. It's psychotic behavior. And again, from the Muslim community, it's even worse because we highlighted, again, multiple times this week, last week, and prior weeks, their abortion stances, their stances on racism, which is banned in Islam, you know, their hypocrisy, you know, their lack of morals, committing zina openly, saying that men, plural, hijacked her body when she later meant these were legitimate consensual relationships. You know, I mean, this stuff, again, being normalized. Well, Zohran Mamdani's like that, or, you know, Abdul El Sayed is like that. His sister, she's a strong Arab woman. She's in the university, and she's having abortions. Why not? It's a fun thing, as she said. And they just passed in more states now. I think it's 16 of them, not 16, 17 states now where you can kill the baby right up until the birth. I mean, the baby's formed. I mean, it's always a life, you know, from a law. But I mean, right there before birth, they're killing the babies now in 17 states. And they have no issues with this. She said this is a beautiful thing to have that right. So to wrap it up, I wanted to get these people in. Hopefully, next week we'll move on to some others. I think we're closing the chapter tonight, the final evisceration, if you will, of these people, because people want to defend them. And what I've shown tonight, again, you can't defend them. Their lack of knowledge of the world, their lack of knowledge of history, their closeted racism, their open bigotry in some cases, their not even understanding of basic history. The agendas are clear. Hopefully everybody got what those agendas are. Again, more further emphasized this week than even last week, where I think we did a pretty good job of doing it then as well. So opening up for questions and comments as usual.
Alhamdulillah, we have a comment on YouTube from Brother Ahmad. He says, but there is white supremacists. They have white privileges, which other races don't have. In the US, in during 1970s or 80s, it was worse for people of color, specifically African Americans. He says
this is good, Brother Yusuf.
Alhamdulillah, we have a comment on.
Finish the comment that he made.
He was saying they were treated. You can't say white people ended slavery. Those people had to fight them in order to get rights. And those European white countries have looted African countries. He says, I don't think white people faced this thing in the 1980s.
Well, if he was listening correctly, we did address that. And black people didn't fight. There's no war in this country for rights. They were done at the bargaining table. I mean, things happened over the course of time. Here, there was a civil war, largely fought by white men to end slavery in the United States. We did go through periods. Obviously, we've talked about that on this broadcast. Now, if he's referring again to this white supremacy myth, if you go to Pakistan, where he is from, and if I go to Pakistan as a white man, will the Pakistani people in Pakistan have more wealth than me? Absolutely, because it's their country. If I go to Saudi Arabia, will Saudis have privileges and rights and more wealth generational than I do? Absolutely. My main point is that only African Americans in the United States have a grievance. And I've covered that on this platform many times. Post-Civil War, what should have been done obviously was not. Did America handle the transition off of slavery as well as it should have? No, America's not perfect. No one's perfect. But any immigrant group coming into this country, as I said, has no room to complain. They have no room to talk about people here having more wealth than them when you entered a country they have generational ties to for over 500 years. It's like I go to live to Japan right now. The Japanese are going to be in a top position over me there. Does that make the Japanese bad? Does that mean there's Japanese supremacy there? Absolutely not. It means I'm in Japan. So only the African Americans have historical grievances from the American government. They were promised land. They were promised help and assistance post-Civil War that never came. Those promises are well documented and were denied. They were put through a segregational system. They call it Jim Crow for short in the South. Denied voting rights and things like that, which were amended over time. And like I said, America's made tremendous progress on that. But a lot of the countries that these people come from who criticize the United States were still dealing with much more racism, which is one of the main things I summed up, than we ever had here, and still have it, and come in here with an agenda. They're not basically doing this because of love. They're doing this for power. They're doing this, as I've highlighted, for a clear, calculated agenda.
Exactly. And stop playing that. Exactly. Thank you, Brother Yusuf. I don't want to hear that crap. Exactly. They come in here and try to use black people. And
Absolutely.
They don't give a jack's crow about black people and they struggle. In fact, they racist against blacks themselves. Yeah, exactly.
And we showed that today with this lady with the history of Egypt. Egypt has a history of racism against blacks, but where do you hear the liberals
and still got it? And they hate black people. Hello. Thank you. I don't want to hear that crap either.
We have to have an open dialogue. And the problem with white reverts in the Muslim communities, they're typically afraid. And they sit in the back and they just act like a punching bag when they hear all this nonsense. I remember one time in our masjid here, one of the reasons I stopped going to the masjid here. I've talked about that. It's probably so long ago, a lot of people don't remember it. They brought a guy into the masjid who was spewing off all this white supremacy nonsense. And they called me and told me, we wish you were here because, you know, none of them had the guts, the white reverts in there to stand up to this. And they knew I would have, but I didn't know he was coming or I would have been there. I would have gladly gone in there and publicly humiliated this individual. But he was an individual of Indian origin and an immigrant, not even here more than 10 years. And he's trying to whip up the Muslims to hate white people in the masjid with the same tired rhetoric, trying to piggyback off the struggling of African Americans in this country and tie himself to that agenda. It's like, you have no right to do that. You didn't suffer here. You came here voluntarily.
Exactly. And that's what Obama did, played on that bull crap, and he did more harm to African Americans and people than anybody else. Take that crap. That's why as Muslims, we got to understand our allegiance is to Allah, not to no race, no color, no creed. I could care less about that black man, white man crap. I'm a Muslim.
Absolutely.
My allegiance is to Allah, to the religion of Islam, not to no race, no color, no creed. People need to get past that garbage and get El Wallah Wal Bara together. Take that black man salute and throw it to the garbage. Hello. Because long as you keep that slave mentality, you're going to be manipulated, walked, and abused by the kuffar. Your allegiance is to Allah, to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the Muslims, no matter what color they are, and to Islam. Take that allegiance to that tribalism. Long as we keep allowing people to play on your history that you don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. She said, as I pointed out today, the woman didn't even know
like Obama
basic history.
Yeah, we don't even know, but African Americans don't even know their history. Get out of here with that crap. Take that crap up out of here. You're a Muslim. Your allegiance is to Islam. The heck with that stuff.
And again, colonizing, as we've covered on this platform before, it's like evil behavior is across the board.
Exactly.
No race has a monopoly over evil behavior. And the left, because again, they want white people's resources, particularly the Zionists in the West, they made white people the punching bag and tried to unify all these groups. But you don't see them doing that for the Chinese. You don't see them doing that for the Japanese.
Yeah.
You go to China, there's tons of wealth in China.
Oh,
But you
God.
never hear the Zionists and their puppets like this woman going out and talking about Chinese imperialism. Look what China is doing in Africa right now. People want to get educated on the abuse and exploitation that's going on in Africa now by the Chinese. Will I come out here and say Chinese supremacy and China's supremacy is the worst thing in the world? Chinese people are dogs? Absolutely not. You know, because I know the Chinese government's different than the average Chinese citizen. There are good people in China, there are bad people. There's Muslims in China. You know, it's like, but these people want to signal out my particular ethnic group, and I'm not going to sit and let them do it. You know, it's like, especially with lies. I mean, you're just making up stuff, just completely lying, you know, not representing history accurately at all.
Only an American can a Pakistani or a Egyptian or somebody that wasn't that can come here and run for your president. You sure as heck can't no American go and run to be the governor of Saudi Arabia. Be the
no,
only
I mean you got to try
allows
to
that
run for
stupid
public
stuff.
office as a foreigner and see what happens.
Yeah, only America allows that stuff. Yeah, that's stupid. That's why the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said their laws are for them, our laws are for us. And these people are ignorant. Yeah. We ain't supposed to be partaking in this political stuff at all anyway. This ain't for us. We're Muslims. We're not supposed to be running for office here. We're putting our allegiance to some kafir man-made constitution. But these people, you know, these people are crazy.
And then with socialism, you're putting your allegiance in a Zionist Karl Marx. I mean, before Zionism was a term, Karl Marx is obviously a Jewish supremacist. And his ideology is what these people were promoting. It's what Mao followed, it's what Stalin followed.
They sold Islam. Yeah, these people crazy. Yeah, this is great. Everybody, the other people here typing, this is great. They're learning so much just from you talking about this stuff.
And we need unity. And, you know, the only way you're going to have unity is to talk reality. I mean, that's you're not going to hear this on Nico, as I said at the beginning.
No.
Nico's going to do Mamdani as a battle cry like he did when he did his famous throat slitting gesture. And these guys are making us hated again, because part of my mission is to branch Islam out to people that look like me, to white America. And it becomes increasingly harder when I go up and, oh, you're what that Mamdani guy is. And I've had someone say that to me recently. Oh, that's what Mamdani is, isn't it? And it's like, oh, no. Like, and it's just so damaging. You know, like, oh, you're what Mamdani is. Now you're what Abdul El Sayed's sister is, or you're what that crazy Rashida Tlaib is, or these awful, wretched human beings, you know. That's what a Muslim is now to the common person. Who's going to want to even open a Quran when you associate Islam with this vile rhetoric we talked about tonight?
Yeah, brother Eman, be careful what you see about America's so-called history. America ain't got no history. Most of the stuff you see about America is a bunch of lies. Like you see in this website, most Americans don't even know their Constitution. Like you can see, most Americans don't know that the preamble is that of America. They don't know that we can't even be a lawyer here. That they don't know why a Muslim cannot even be a lawyer. Because you are upholding to put the American Constitution over any religion. They don't know that that's their Constitution. So don't look at nothing about America's history. Remember, the people that came here were the worst of every country. This was the punishment. When you commit a crime in Africa, your punishment was America. Commit a crime in Europe, the punishment was America. So we got the worst of Africa here, the worst of Europe here. That's why we the baddest country on earth. Drop a bomb on you. Okay? So don't look at nothing about America. We Muslims. If you are Muslim, you better take pride in being a Muslim. Don't look at that stuff about America's history. Even Americans don't know their history.
We got some of the worst Zionists, obviously, here as well. Recent
Care
times.
about that crap. It's all about a law and the hereafter. Who cares about that? A law is the one that decreed for you to be wherever, whatever land you in and die wherever you are. That other crap, all that racial tribalism. The prophet said, anyone who ascribes to tribalism, you are not of me. I want all you Muslims to remember that. The Prophet Muhammad said, anyone who ascribes to tribalism, you are not of me. Y'all got to get all that racism and flags and all that stuff out of you to be a believer. Who cares about that?
Just to show, when I lived in the Middle East, I remember there was a TV show that came on. It had Arabic language only, but subtitles at the bottom. And I just left it on for a few minutes, and it was the story of a Palestinian family coming to America and immigrating, and they opened up a store, and then you know who, those evil white guys came in and just destroyed their store because they were Arab. And I remember when I watched this, I laughed. I was like, this is it's like what you'd see from the Zionists in America. And I actually went off and on for days trying to find from local newspapers of any similar incident to that ever happening here. And I couldn't find one case of a white guy, group of white guys, or white guy singular, going into an Arab-owned store and destroying it. But that was the imagery they were sending. I mean, I had people coming to me when I lived overseas and saying something like, what? Where are you getting all of this? Oh, from a movie, or from here or from there. I'm like, oh, you're getting your history, your life from a movie? Well, I saw a guy in a movie wearing tights and underwear and a cape, flying around town and bullets bouncing off his chest as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of things in movies.
The
But they
people
would
that
take this
slander
as,
me are African Americans. Y'all know that. Who the people that slander Layla Nashiba? Not the white people. The white people fear me. It's the black people that's always calling me names and bothering me all my life. I don't want to hear that crap. I am not. I care. It's the African American people that keep bothering me. So what do I care about that crap? Who cares about race?
we're here to build a better world.
Yeah, I care about that color crap. Y'all better learn some allegiance to Allah. Get all of that crap. White people scared of Layla. They are. They scared of me. I ain't never had no problems. It's the black people that I'm always fighting with, trying to destroy my marriages, destroy my website, slander my character, call me a Wahhabi. I go through all that from black people, not white people.
Are these black Muslims?
I don't know what they are. They African American. They call Riyah Sufis.
I've never met an African American Sufi. That'd be a first.
That's what most African Americans are, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Yeah, in the masjid here, if you have any Sufis, they're typically like the Arab types or from the Stan countries. That's usually what the ones I've seen the most.
Yeah, I'm saying. So I'm not into that race stuff. I've never been into that racial crap because I've never, I ain't accepted by nobody. I'm all about Allah and Islam. I can't stand that racial crap. The African Americans are the ones that treat me like dirt and always have all my life. So I'm not into that. They the ones that I got to contend with on my website too.
The kafir you were talking about before we went live that you banned 10 times, where was he? Or what was he?
I attract these African Americans.
You said there was a guy you banned him 10 times. He kept coming on with new accounts to
blast. Oh, that was the guy, though. Those are we getting attacked by this website now. We got Shiites coming in here like crazy. We got everybody coming in here now. We got Shiites, we got Sufis. Our dawah now, believe it or not, we got a lot of new shahadas because we're on TikTok. Our dawah is so great. We're getting attacked by the Shiites, the Sufis, everybody. Most American Muslims are Sufi. You know that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So they are, and by us teaching the pure Islam, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what he was. He's kept coming in here about. He was I don't know what race color he is, but he's a Shiite because he kept coming here about virgin. No, he was a kafir coming to hear about virgins, and he was a kafir. I don't know what color he was.
Yeah,
But
because he was taught blasphemy of the prophet. Shia wouldn't
yeah,
do
he
that.
was talking about the Prophet Muhammad and virgins, and I just shut him down by telling him, look, I can't help it if your women are so trifling, and you've been wanting a virgin and you're obsessed with me, and let me stop coming in.
Yeah, the Shia would talk about, curse Abu Bakr or whatnot. They wouldn't go
Oh,
after.
they talk about Aisha radiallahu anha so badly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
if we've got a lot of new shahadas, I was thinking after we wrap up this series in a few more weeks, I was going to start doing some stuff for me. Because what's going on now online is you have a lot of apostasy amongst these reverts that have come for 2
that's
years.
what I'm dealing with.
Yeah,
That's
because of
what
Christian tactics and lies, and I'm pretty familiar with Christian apologetics.
Rejectors of hadith. That's what they're messed up. Because we got a lot of the Muslim women are rejectors of hadith. That's the new thing too. I don't know what group that is. That's a Sufi group too that rejects the hadith. The women feminists. That's why they. Oh no, the new shahadas like you. You're popular with them because you're opening their eyes up to the feminists. That woman you did, Aya Voice. They were following her. And it's a lot of women like her. They are the hadith rejectors. They want you to continue with her.
Yeah, we were going to look at, then this stuff came up. There is a Saudi female that goes by the name of Hind al-Qahtani.
Oh, God. They talked about her. They was
we're going to cover her probably next week.
Yes.
And
they
her daughter.
about her.
And some of the fashionista culture that's coming out of the Gulf now. Because Saudi trying to play two ways here. On one hand, Saudi's been marketing it since I lived over there. Then number two, they want when one of their own turns to that propaganda and embraces it, then they have a problem with it. But you created this. You created the Frankenstein, like literally. You laid the framework for it. And I've been seeing Saudis, but they used to use foreign women when I was over there. They would have the foreign women in the television shows, the foreign women presenting this type of female behavior. And it was always them they could go, oh, it's not a Saudi woman. But now you've got the Saudi women duplicating that behavior, and now they all of a sudden want to pretend they want to play the moral police card.
That's what you're doing to them. You've gotten them when you hit that lady. Now you are popular with them because that's what they were before they started. If they learned about me and started coming, I got them off of Reddit. They come to me off of the Reddit group. They were following her on Reddit, and she had them convinced that Islam. To reject the hadith, that Muslim men are abusive towards women, that if you follow the hadith is a anti-feminine, you can't work, that women are oppressed, the hadith oppresses women, and they mentioned that name of her and some other women too, that they were following, but now I got them with me, In fact, I'm going to talk about Aisha radiallahu anha, her marriage with tonight for my Q&A, but that evidently these hadith rejectors is very popular, and they're the reason why a lot of these women are apostating and rejecting hadith. The feminists, yeah, they want you to cover more of them. Of those.
Oh, we absolutely will. So we'll do Hind al-Qahtani next week and a couple of others.
And I never heard of her until they told me about her.
This is one of those people again. I watch sports. It's one of my guilty pleasures. We all have to have something. I like to play sports too. I like to stay athletic. I was watching World Cup stuff, and they started showing me these half-naked Saudi women that were holding up the Saudi flag with the Shahada on it at a game. And I'm like, who is this? Why am I being shown this? I'm looking for the actual scores and the goals and the players, and you're showing me like three half-naked Saudi women holding up a Saudi flag. And I'm like, Hind al-Qahtani, who is this? And I started investigating, and then she was recently banned, I think a week ago, from all platforms in Saudi, which is a good move, but this is not all they need to do, obviously. There's a lot more Saudi needs to do to clean this mess up before it becomes a monster like it is in America. But she's like, like Lily J, but worse in a way, because it's the filters plus the plastic surgery. It's just total fakeness.
I just heard of her from them, and they they told me about. They mentioned her, and just a couple more women they mentioned too. But these women are on the rise, and that's who they thought was representing Islam until they Sister Amira got them tuned on to me. And by me teaching basic Aqidah, you know, and using the Quran, I use books and I use the hadiths, and they see the truth. And Islam is so simple. Alhamdulillah is working with them, and they said they so happy that the sister on Reddit got them hooked up with me. But they were following, and I told them women are not even Islamic teachers. I don't know what these women. I thought that one with the eyelashes was a convert. I said, them women are not even Islamic educators. I don't know what them women are. They ignorant, you know. But and then a couple others women that they was listening to on Instagram. I said, and those women are Qadiriya. Those women are Sufis. I do know them other women. Those are Sufi, mystic Sufi women, and they are really messed up. They don't believe that Allah is the creator of good and evil. They don't believe that Allah is the creator of man's actions. They think you can change your decree. I said, y'all definitely learning from the wrong people. So, yeah, it's just messed up.
But and then they'll get to praying to saints and all that other stuff that inevitably comes in as well. The intercessions and praying to a guru in India who died in 1541.
Yes. I told them y'all just have not been learning from the right people. I said, and I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I told them, I don't know no female daya in America that teaches what I teach. I mean, these women are all either Sufi or nothing in America, you know. I mean, I don't know what, I don't, you know. So they, alhamdulillah, I got 250 of them.
Oh, mashallah.
And it's growing. They're coming at me. They love what I'm teaching so much. They're because I'm lighting their heart up. Like I had to tell Jamali, it's called passion, bro. I have a degree in communications, Barbara Walters style. I know how to shake a heart, bro. Plus, I learned Islam from the true scholars. I know how to teach. You know.
There's people nowadays, they learn Islam from Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab and Chat GPT and Lily J. And
plus, them using books, they can see it. I mean, really real books. You know, my teachers wrote these books. You know, Umar al-Eshkar was my teacher, and I'm teaching his books. You know, subhanAllah. And I've been teaching his books for the past 30-some years. You know, so subhanAllah. Yeah, so he's gonna stay on this. Y'all hear him, sisters. Yeah, he's gonna cover your girls. They're saying thank you because they enjoyed, they loved when you broke down Aya's voice.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that. Just like this woman tonight, vile people, I don't know, it's just something I think I was born to do, like to bring them down to earth a little bit. Aya's voice was more problematic than this trashy woman we covered tonight, because this trashy woman don't even wear a hijab that we covered tonight. I don't even say her name. I don't want people even to give her attention. This is the way they put her up on the screen. Aya's voice still tries to wear the hijab and still tries to pretend. So she's actually more dangerous.
Well, it's off her head. She got it halfway off her head now.
Who, Aya?
Yeah, it's halfway off her head. And she
pretty soon it'll be all the way off.
She doesn't wear a baya. She got her breasts and stuff out. She might as well take it off. What's the point when you're showing your breast and everything else?
Yeah, because now I've noticed, and again, I don't know why I get sent this stuff. It's like on my Twitter, because I guess because I look up Islamic content, they're like, oh, here you go, watch this Islamic content. It's like a new trend now in Saudi. It's like women in niqab, but then they open up the abayas. And they open up the abayas on their top area, on their bellies, and it's just like, or they show their legs.
What Islam was speaking about, women are dressed but still naked. You're showing your breasts and everything else. What's the point? You know, your breasts stuck, or they getting the boob jobs done, you know, and they getting booty touches. You know, what's the point? If you should, like, you're dressed but still naked, you're showing all your body parts. What's the point? You might as well just take it all off.
Well, they'll wear the niqab. Their father don't know it's them, or their brothers and sisters and family, and then get the attention and the likes from an anonymous account.
That's what it is. You're right. Yeah. But but I see it because I've been looking at her latest stream. It comes up, and I'm like, she got half her hair out in the front, and then her breast is out. She got the straight, like the blue jeans, Levi jeans on tight, where you can see her belly button in one of them.
And she'll play like some of the most disgusting, vile rap music in the background with horrible language as well. Like,
that's why I thought she was a convert. I didn't know that she was a born Muslim.
and we'll talk about that too, which is what a lot of these influencers have done, which is the marrying of hip hop, rap, vulgar culture with Islam. The Warner, you see a lot of these guys. There's a guy called Dr. Malik who's very big in the online Muslim circles, is a former rapper. They're bringing that in, this kind of unification, but there's one of the many ways of the Muslim 2.0 agenda of tying in hip hop, rap, urban, vulgar culture with Islam.
Yeah, and the sister here type too. A lot of these women are married to non-Muslim men too. She said that's another thing too, and that's why they didn't know that that was haram until I told them that too.
Oh, you see this a lot in Europe.
Yeah, that's what she said a lot, because that's what sister said. She's in Europe. That's what she said. A lot of Muslim women marry Kafir men.
Yeah, the families apparently just think, oh yeah, okay, right, yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Well, that's what that politician here in America did. Her husband's not her. She married a white guy. He's not Muslim.
Yeah.
The Ilham chick, sure, he's not a Muslim at all.
And that's what for Brother Amwad earlier when I was talking about these people, they'll curse the white man on camera because they're trying to win over that immigrant vote for the agenda. But she goes to bed with a white man every night.
Right. Yeah. And she's African. She's Somalian.
Yeah, she's Somalian. So she's obviously she likes white men like her. So they ain't too racist in the bedroom. I mean, but yet on camera, you know, she hates us. But behind closed doors, she loves us.
Right. Right. Okay, guys. All right, we're gonna make sure you guys put his video, his shorts go. And by the way, like I told you guys, by the way, I want to tell you too, Brother Yusuf, Mr. Man is our AI robot that I pay for. He answers all the comments are made by him. So when they try to argue and debate, they argue with Mr. Man, our robot. But I do have to go behind him sometimes because I don't like when they be calling our prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam bad names. I have to go and block them because he doesn't block. He'll just put a remark. He's a robot. But yeah, he's the one that answers all the responses because you don't have to pay. I pay $150 for him each month.
What are they blasting the prophet for Aisha? Is Aisha, is that their favorite attack? That's like their number one.
Yeah, Aisha radiallahu anha, they attack her more than anyone, but your shorts, they attack like crazy, and they've been attacking Sheikh Atlee since I've been putting his out. But I like how Mr. Man responds. He responds so intelligently to them. He makes them look so stupid. And they'll come back and respond more, and he just answers them back real politely.
Yeah, I don't even read the comments. If they're more than willing to come on here and ask it to me live, and we'll deal with them there, you know.
Oh, they're cowards. They won't do that. I've told them to come and join the Zoom, and they won't. They never. These are cowards. The internet is filled with cowards. Yeah. All right, guys, let's log out because we got to make salat. Yep. And don't forget my Islam Q&A is at 9:30, and I'm going to answer that question for you new shahadas about the marriage of Aisha radiallahu anha. And I'm going to give y'all a brief history lesson on how it was in the 6th century. Oh my, in the medieval period. Subhanallah. All right, so make sure y'all join us. Yes, he's going to continue it, sisters. Yeah,
I'm here every week.
Yeah, he's going to stay on this topic. Yeah, they say, stay on it because there's so much more to talk about.
And we'll go after the Christians in due time as well, and the attacks that reverts are inevitably going to hear. Because most Christians in real life copy the Christians online. So you're going to be hearing a lot of challenges in your journeys, and inshallah, we'll be here to prepare series also in the future on that.
And y'all can feel free to join the Zoom room too. You new shahadas, y'all got the link to my Zoom room. Yeah, you can come in here with Brother Yusuf. Yeah, if y'all want to, with comments to get on the mic. Okay, well, let's log out because I know it's time for salat. All right, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. See you guys at 9:30, inshallah. This was really good.